Hello, I hope you are doing well. I'm so glad that you joined me today. I'm just gonna start because I actually did not plan out a roadmap for this conversation necessarily because I want it to be more of a conversation, but this is a topic that I have been thinking about for like 2 weeks now. I wanted to make a video about it. I wanted to talk about it because it's just been on my mind for a long time. You probably saw by the title, but before I get into it, please, if you're new to my channel, subscribe. I would love if you would subscribe and join the family, and I'm just glad that you're here because I think that this is really important. And if you clicked on this video specifically because of the title, stick around. Let's have a conversation about this because I think that it can be confusing. So the topic is contentment over complacency. I'm not going to edit this too much because I really am just going to give you my raw thoughts on this as I've been thinking about it, mostly in my life, because I've noticed that I have like moderate anxiety. I think I say that in every single one of my videos, something about me having anxiety, and that's mostly just because it affects every area of my life. But I've been thinking a lot and really kind of obsessively thinking about my future because I've been looking more at my past. And I have come to this realization that 7 years ago, when I became a Christian and God kind of started speaking to me, you know, and however he speaks to people, kind of started directing me for the first time of where he wanted me to go with my life. And I realized like this month that right now I am in the position and place that I had been dreaming of being for like 7 years. I'm on staff at the church that I got saved at as a pastor. I do administration, which, believe it or not, yes, that was something that I really wanted to do. I've graduated college without debt. I'm in a wonderful relationship, and just all of these things, like, I checked off all the boxes. Which is blowing my mind. Literally this past year, I have moved in the position of having accomplished all of the goals that I had when I was 16. Now, with that, last year, which I've mentioned this in a lot of my videos too, last year I actually completely changed courses of where I want to go in my life. Not that I want to quit my job and leave what I'm doing. I love my job and I want to stay here, but now I have all these new goals and these new dreams and things that I want to strive for. And so I've been kind of wrestling with this clash between contentment and complacency because I am so happy where I am right now, but I have these new goals for the future and I'm almost getting really impatient. Like, just start now. I just want to be there now. I want to be married now. I want to start my business and have it already be successful and beautiful now. I want to buy a house now. Like, all of these new goals that I have for the future, I'm getting really impatient. And though I'm exactly where I wanted to be X number of years ago, suddenly now I'm getting impatient and I'm not allowing myself to enjoy where I'm at right now. And so it is a literal conversation that I have to have with myself every single day of, okay, hold up, Cassie. You should always be striving for something new. You should always have bigger and better dreams for your future, but don't allow that to keep you from being happy with where you are right now. Because I am so driven. I am so quick to move on to the next thing, and just doing tasks, I do them really quickly. And so I often have a hard time slowing down and enjoying the process. And so I think a lot of people probably struggle with this too. And I want to talk about what's the difference between complacency and contentment. So let's look at this from the perspective of a personality like me. Now, I'll preface with, you may have a personality that's totally different from mine. You know, I am a type A driven, Enneagram 1, thinking, judging, quick acting type of person. Your personality may be so far from that. Like, you may be timid to make moves and whatever, and there's no right or wrong personality, okay? They're all just different. And so I can only speak from my perspective. With that said, when I look at my goals for my life, I see this topic of complacency versus contentment over and over again, because when I'm driven, it makes me dream. I'm a dreamer. I think of new crazy things that I want to do with my life all the freaking time. Like every single day I'll think, oh my gosh, one day I'd love to do a podcast, or one day I'd love to have this line of stationery, or I'd love to be in this. Like every single day there's some ridiculous, fantastical dream that I have that I'm like, I can do it. I can accomplish it. If I just work hard enough, I could literally conquer the world. I believe that about myself, and I hope that you could decide to believe that about yourself too, because there's nothing special about me. There's nothing special about those type A driven people, except the fact that there's just a little less fear in them that keeps them back. Like for me, it's not that I have any more ability than anyone else. I've just worked my butt off and just decided not to listen to the fear that I could possibly fail. And so if you're in this position, sometimes we become afraid of the dreams that we have, and we decide to just stay where we're at. And the reason complacency is so dangerous is because we were created to dream. Now, from a Christian standpoint, to be a little spiritual for you, if you're not Christian, we're created in the likeness of God. We are created in the image of a creator. So our minds are meant to work with that beautiful creative energy that God created man with. And so if we're thinking about the world and we only see black and white, that probably means that we're not allowing our hearts to really tap into that creator that's inside of us. And so if we're becoming complacent, often underneath it all, there's two things that can really play into that. It's either apathy or fear, for the most part. And I think apathy, it's hard because I cannot understand apathetic people in the slightest. Like, I just have no scope of reference for understanding what can bring a person there, because I just feel really deeply, as you can probably tell from the way that I just talk about life. But apathy is honestly the opposite of love. And apathy means that we just don't feel, about XYZ. You don't feel anything. Hate is not the opposite of love. Apathy is. And complacency is just apathy in action in our lives. And so what I've come to realize is that if I'm feeling complacent, if I'm feeling stuck and I'm not dreaming, and I'm not looking toward the future, that probably means that I'm lacking love for life. I'm lacking love for the world that's around me. And I wasn't created to live that way. So neither were you. Just to say, this is not a me thing. This is how people are. We are created to love something. Whether that's your family or your passion in life, the job that you do, your dreams, whatever it is, we're created to love. We're created to create. These are things that humans throughout history, just analytically, look at what the world has done. If we weren't created to create, we would still be living the way that cavemen were. If we weren't created to love, people would not have reproduced enough to populate for generations and generations. Like, we create and we love naturally. And so if we're in a place of complacency, that means that there's something in our life that has just been dulled by apathy. Let that sink in for a second and really think about what complacency looks like for you. When I'm complacent, it's so counter to my natural personality type that I know immediately something's wrong. But for some other people, it might be more in line with their natural personality type if they're more mellow and go with the flow. Things I wish that I was sometimes, honestly, but I'm just not. But maybe it's more natural to you to have those attributes of complacency, even though you're not created to be complacent. I hope you're tracking with what I'm saying. So we need to identify those roots that cause us to be apathetic. And really what's underneath that is that we're lacking love and creativity in our lives. Dang, that was really good. So if you, I don't know, like I said, I didn't write this down. I'm just kind of talking, and that was really good. So I'm going to process that for a moment because it's true. If we are experiencing complacency, the root underneath is that we're lacking love or creativity in our lives. Dang, I should be a pastor. I'm totally kidding. I mean, I am a pastor, but I try to not be that arrogant. Anyway, if that's what complacency is, we need to understand then what contentment is. Because if we're afraid of being complacent, but we don't understand what it is to be content, then we're probably going to fall all the way to the other end of the spectrum of being burnt out. If you don't know what burnout is, genuinely I should have looked up like the definition of burnout, but burnout is now being validated by doctors as a physical condition or a mental condition. And it's basically where you get to the point of exhaustion, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, because you just don't take care of yourself and you don't slow down. And slowing down is really important. So let's talk about what contentment is, because this is really, really where we need to be. And if we look at any spectrum for any topic in the world, really you don't want to be on one of the far ends. We want to be closer to the middle. And you could naturally lean one way or the other, but we want to kind of have a balanced life. And so if there's complacency and then burnout, we're going to meet in the middle at contentment. And honestly, that's where the Lord is. That's where peace is. That's where you'll find your Zen, whatever mode that you want to look at this through, whatever lens you want to look at this through, that's balance. And contentment is basically this. Contentment is when you, oh my gosh, this is how I'm going to explain it, because I heard this in a podcast the other day. I've read this in books. It's the, what's it called? I don't know if it's called the contentment prayer or something like that, but there's this prayer that goes, God, give me the desire to accept what I cannot change what I cannot accept, and wisdom to know the difference. That's contentment. If there's things we can't change in our lives, we're just going to accept it. If there's things that we cannot accept, if there's things that rub us the wrong way, things that we just want to advance through, things we want to grow and challenge ourselves in, give us the power to change those things and grow. And give us the wisdom to know the difference. Give us the wisdom to know when we need to push ourselves harder or pull back. Give us the wisdom to really go all in or to step out of a project. Contentment is being in that space where our lives are balanced with the wisdom of changing what we can't accept and accepting what we can't change. That's honestly the best way that I can define contentment practically, aside from an actual definition, which I'm recording on my phone, so I cannot look up currently. But contentment's just that feeling of being at peace with your life and loving exactly where you're at right now. Now you might be thinking, but Cassie, I'm not in a place that I like myself right now. I'm not at a place, I can't be content with this person. I can't be content with this version of myself. I am this, and this. I am fat, lazy, arrogant, prideful, I am miserable, anxious, depressed, whatever it is, whatever you think your reason is for not being content, I want to tell you right now that that's an excuse. And that might be really hard to swallow, but it is an excuse. And I'll tell you this from personal experience. I am the most anxious, depressed, frustrated, prideful person that I know personally. Like, I know me. You know you and I know me. Odds are we are always the worst person that we know. And those flaws are just because we're human. You will always be a work in progress. Nothing's going to change that. And contentment doesn't mean I got to this point, now I can be content with my life. Every single day, it's a decision to choose to be happy. A decision to choose to be happy right where you're at. Contentment is a constant conversation with yourself. Every single day, there's going to be things, obstacles that pull at our peace and try to trap us in a frustrated mindset. This is where the difference between complacency and contentment really arises. Complacency says, I can't change anything. Why care anyway? This is just where I'm at. I'm just going to stay here. Why even bother growing? Why bother trying? Why challenge myself? This is all I'm ever going to be. Or sometimes it's not even that deep of a thought process. It's just like, okay, whatever. The difference between and contentment is contentment says, this is where I'm at right now. I'm going to work my butt off to be a little farther along tomorrow, but there's nothing wrong with being right where I am today. I don't need to get down on myself if I didn't progress as much as I wanted to. I don't need to yell at myself because I wasn't Cassie 2.0, Rachel 2.0, whoever you are watching this right now. You don't need to be the best version of yourself to love the version that you are today. And this is really heavy on my heart. And I don't have a huge following. I don't have a ton of people, on here, but I hope to, because this aches my soul. Like, I want people so badly to know this, that the life that you want does not negate the value of the life you have right now. And if you're watching this and you think like this is as good as it's ever going to get, that's not true. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with the person that you are today. And the longer you spend complaining about where you're at in life right now, the more time that you waste that you could have been dreaming and loving your life and planning for the future that you want. Every person had to start somewhere. All of the successful people that we know in our lives, that we see on TV and we hear about and that we idolize, honestly, in our culture, they all had to start from exactly where we did. They were born one day into a set of circumstances. Those circumstances may have been far different from us, but every person faces challenges. Some people's are different. Some are physical challenges in the world, whether they grew up really poor, whether they grew up with a disability. And some people, it's more internal challenges of them not believing in themselves or them being prideful, arrogant, or selfish. These are things that people need to overcome. And whatever hand you've been dealt, I hope that you decide today that you're not going to give in to complacency or frustration. Be content with who you are right now, because who you are right now is pretty great. If I do say so myself, I don't know you. I know many of you, but I hope that many people watching this I don't know, because I can't know all of you. And I just hope that you understand who you are today is beautiful. Who you are tomorrow, that's an exciting adventure that you get to dream up all on your own. So that's our conversation for today. And if I can urge you to do one thing after you watch this video, it would be this. Open a journal or a piece of paper or a notebook, whatever you want, and write down 3 things that you love about your life right now. 3 specific things. Things that you experience in your everyday life right now that you just love, okay? And then underneath that, write 3 things that you're hoping for the future. 3 goals. And I would challenge you to make those goals as big and scary as possible. And then put that somewhere that you can see it every single day. Put it somewhere that you can read it. I love you, and I hope that you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.